What's up, wrestling fans? Tony Mango here with another episode of the Smark Out Moment Smack Talk podcast. And as you can tell by the title of this video, or the iTunes or Stitcher feed, or whatever you're listening to this on, this is the WrestleMania 33 edition of Fantasy Booking. So if you're new to the show and you're wondering what the hell that means, well, you're in luck, as I'm in a good enough mood to give you a breakdown for it. Isn't that nice? Tip your waiters, everybody. All of us in the IWC tend to think that we can do things better than what WWE's writers do. Maybe not each and every week, but at least we have ideas of what we'd prefer to see from time to time, whether it's a match that we think we're getting skipped over, or a better way that they could have built up a feud, and so on and so forth. And this ramps up even more around WrestleMania season. It's arguably the most important time of the year, and our passion kind of amplifies a little bit more around that time frame, so it's understandable that around this section of the year, everybody is sort of complaining a little bit more about certain things here and there. A match that would have been perfectly fine for something like Extreme Rules is suddenly considered unworthy of a WrestleMania spot. It's pretty much one of the only cards that people say, like, well, that's not good enough for WrestleMania. That's not good enough for whatever. Nobody ever seems to complain about something not being good enough for, say, the Money in the Bank pay-per-view or something like that. And we all have our favorites that we'd like to see pushed, or certain dream matches that we're disappointed WWE isn't going to be providing us with this year, blah, 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 blah. So basically, fantasy booking is a way for us to put our money where our mouths are. You think that you can schedule a better pay-per-view card than the one that we're getting? Well, here you go. Prove it. If you are on the creative control team and you can decide whatever they're doing, this is what the opportunity essentially presents itself as. What would you do if you had the control to be able to book the card for whatever the pay-per-view, whatever we're doing? In this case, WrestleMania 33. Now, in the past, I've done these with other panelists, but some of the feedback on the end of the year survey that I sent out to you guys out there in audience land said that fantasy booking works best either in just the website form, or if I were to do it solo. And it's a little bit hard to keep track of everyone else's cards if multiple people are on the same show and different things like that. So with that in mind, and with schedules getting in the way and all that other kind of stuff, I figured I would do my own on the website as well as here for the people who would rather listen to it than read it. And the other panelists and such will be able to chime in on their own ideas in the comments, either on the YouTube channel or the website post or the Megamaniacs or whatever, just the same as you guys can, so keep that in mind. But before we get started with my card ideas, I need to set up a couple of ground rules that we should all follow when it comes to fantasy booking. Some of these are carryovers from the past bunch of times that we've done it. Some of them are a little bit newer, kind of depending on the scenarios and stuff. So rule number one is that we need a time frame of how far we can go back, because if you don't set that up, people are going to be saying, well, Hulk Hogan never should have gone to WCW, and then it makes the whole timeline all crazy. So you can only go back as far as last year's WrestleMania, particularly the night after last year's WrestleMania. You got to assume that this is the build-up from WrestleMania to WrestleMania, and that you can't change what happened last year. So you have to start off with the Monday Night Raw right after WrestleMania 32. Everything since that time frame can be all changed around a little bit. Maybe you wanted to turn some people heel or face, and they weren't in that scenario. Maybe you wanted to push certain people. Maybe certain people are kind of against what you would have rather had seen pushed, so you want to devalue them. That's all the stuff that you guys can control. You also need to keep some things within reason. I mean, you got to assume that this is a sort of still the same kind of a deal with WWE, where there's not one person in charge other than Vince McMahon who can make those calls that say, you know what, no, I want this, that's what we're getting. So if you are a huge Bo Dallas fan, it looks like that dude's not really getting pushed all that much. So keep it within reason. Don't make it to where Bo Dallas suddenly, 2 nights after WrestleMania 32, he's the world champion and he has an undefeated streak or something like that. When WWE has certain things that they want to do, kind of work that into the schedule. We know, for instance, that Goldberg is somebody who they worked out this deal with, and they need to push him. And if you're going to push him, you're going to push him as a main event guy. You can't really take Goldberg and throw him into, say, a tag team match that gets bumped to the pre-show. Or you take a guy like Roman Reigns, who a lot of people dislike, but he is a top guy, and you're not going to saddle him with working on the pre-show panel and not wrestling on the card. But you don't have to take a guy like Roman Reigns that you dislike and make him, say, the, co-champion of the Universal and the WWE Championship, and he's going between the brands and he's beating everybody. I mean, they got to keep this within reason, but at the same time, you get a little bit of flexibility. Superstars who are ineligible are the ones who aren't employed by WWE. So you can't just add, say, the Hardy Boys and just go, well, if I were in charge of the creative control team, because remember, this is just the writing team. This isn't business management and stuff. You can't be like, well, I want the Hardy Boys in mix. Well, they're not in the company anymore, so they're off the table. The retired people are not going to come back from retirement, so no Shawn Michaels versus AJ Styles. Deceased people obviously cannot come back to life, so we're not going to get Randy Savage against somebody or whatever. So try to keep that within reason too. Don't set up a CM Punk versus, say, I don't know, Brian Pillman. It's not going to happen for multiple different reasons. Likewise, you should also keep the number of people that you've boosted from NXT to a somewhat reasonable number. You can't take every single person from that roster and move them up to the main roster and have them all be huge stars, and because it's within the time limits of what you would have to be able to build up these type of stars. It's unlikely that they'd be able to have all the main roster people on Raw and SmackDown that are big main event guys, and then you take up all the Shinsuke Nakamuras, and you take up the Bobby Roodes, and so on and so forth, and all that other kind of stuff. You also have to keep in mind time constraints of the show itself too, and I'm going to be pushing this to its limit a little bit this year, but I mean, we had around a dozen matches last year, and that was really sort of pushing it. So you can't really have 37 matches on a card. It's just not going to work unless you want those matches to be 5 minutes long and stuff. And if that's what you want to do, then that's what you want to do. But realistically, you can't have 40 matches on the card and they all go 45 minutes. We have a 6-hour window that we got to work with here with a little bit of an overrun. We don't want to make this a whole day thing. And lastly, you cannot undo the brand split. I know I've talked a lot of shit about the brand split in the past and how there's some problems behind it. Some of the other things have been proving me wrong, I'll admit it, but at the same time, WWE clearly wanted to do this. They've wanted to do it for a little bit of time. This is a forced mandatory thing that you cannot undo. Just the same as you can't leave marquee names off the card, you can't just decide that Raw and SmackDown are now the same brand again. Nope, you're stuck with it. And now that the rules are out of the way, I want to kick things off with a couple preliminary other tidbits of information that I want to throw out there. And you don't have to do this for your card, by the way. I like to do it because I'm a fucking dork. But if this is the type of stuff that you find really just boring, then you can by all means skip it and just tell me, breakdown of what your card would be of the matches themselves and stuff. But any extra stuff like that, I find interesting. So, if you do it, then I'll find that kind of cool to read back and stuff. But one thing that I would want to change is the commentary teams. Not crazy, but I do think that this can be better sorted out a little bit. I think that Michael Cole and JBL work together basically the same as Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby Heenan, or Jim Ross and Jerry the King Lawler, or a couple of other different things that we've gotten over the past however many decades WWE's been apart. Certain teams work well together, and we have Cole and Graves and Saxton on Raw right now, but I think it would be better off if we had Cole, JBL, and Byron Saxton. In that setup, I think Cole is the guy that's in the middle. He's the play-by-play. He can kind of just be the analyst. JBL can be the color commentator on the heel side of things. Byron Saxton is by far a big babyface. He's the babyface color commentator. They pick on him. Michael Cole and JBL have a nice back and forth. Now, Corey Graves does work well with them, but I think Corey Graves works even better with either Mauro Ranallo or Tom Phillips based off of their times with 205 Live and with the NXT brand. So for my money, I think Mauro Ranallo, Corey Graves, and Tom Phillips are the SmackDown team. Ranallo plays that Michael Cole role where he's in the middle. Corey Graves is the heel commentator for the color commentary side of things. And Tom Phillips, I think, can be a good color commentator on the babyface side of things. But even a little bit, he can just learn some more from Mauro Ranallo. And you can notice that David Otunga is nowhere to be found on here. I mean, I think David Otunga sucks. I think that there's no real good use of him for the company as far as like an on-screen role. In any capacity that they can put him backstage, maybe he could be good, maybe on the legal team or something like that. He's just not good as a commentator. So boot him out of there, kick him off. We don't need a 4-man team on SmackDown. And of course, Raw and SmackDown, they do the commentary for those particular matches. And if there's a cross-branded one, then we kind of mix it up a little bit. Maybe we have like, I don't know, Mauro Ranallo, Byron Saxton, and JBL or something like that. That'd be kind of interesting. Our announcers are Mike Rome and JoJo. They are the two best out of the company right now, as far as I'm concerned. I would put it all on Mike Rome, but I like JoJo a little bit too. I'm okay with Hamilton. He's not bad, but I think Rome is better. And if I'm going to get a choice between the two of them, why not do that? Maybe if they need a third person, or maybe Hamilton can do like the pre-show or something like that. I'm cool with that. Whatever. A little bit of flexibility behind it. I don't hate Hamilton by any means. Our backstage interviewers are Charlie Caruso and Dasha Fuentes. More so Charlie Caruso. I'm a big fan of her. She has been doing a damn good job improving lately, and she's actually like right up there almost with Renee Young as far as I'm concerned. Pre-show hosts for the social media lounge and stuff like that are Kathy Kelly and Scott Stanford. If you need a second person like that, if you don't, then it just goes to Kathy Kelly. I think that she should be used a little bit more. Right now, she just kind of hangs out in Stanford. And I think that Scott Stanford does that too. Stanford and Stanford. And Kathy Kelly is somebody I'd like to see a little bit more of. She's cute, and she's got this like bubbly kind of personality to her. It's something a little bit different. We have our kickoff panel, which of course is going to be Renee Young heading the entire thing. Booker T, I'm still cool with him. He's funny. I like Jerry the King Lawler being on there. I like CN the King. And I like Shawn Michaels being a part of the kickoff. He is somebody who can bring a little bit different stuff to the table that a lot of other people don't. And I know that some people are going to want to have Ric Flair. I know that some people are going to want to have like the Peter Rosenbergs and stuff like that. If you can throw these people in the mix every once in a while and change it up, I'm okay with that. But if you got to pick at least one legend and just stick there the whole time, I think HBK is the way to go. And our Masters of Ceremonies, I kind of like the idea that the New Day are the hosts. So you know what? I'm not going to change it. Originally in my plans, I had them in the tag title situation, and I kind of like this better. I'm warming up to it more and more as time goes on. Every year, I seem to book a different host, whether it's Hulk Hogan or John Cena or whatever the case may be. I like the New Day playing this role. They can kind of have some different backstage segments and stuff, and I'm going to work that into my actual card itself. You'll see that a little bit later on. But video packages and stuff is another thing I want to mention here. Only on the pre-show. I don't see the point in having videos that tell you this is the feud that has led up to this point that you've seen not only every week on Raw and SmackDown, but recaps every week on Raw and SmackDown, and that they show it to you on the pre-show, and they break it down by asking people what they think is going to happen and how they got to that point, and then before every single match, then they have to show it to you again. You don't need to waste that time. Give us more matches on the card. That's how you get around doing this. We don't need to see the pre-show stuff clogged down where 2 hours of the pre-show are predominantly all video packages that you're also going to show later on. So I say that's what the pre-show is for. Pre-show can be matches if you can fit them in there. And as far as I'm concerned, you should basically take 45 minutes worth of the pre-show and make that those promos and the recaps and the panelist stuff, backstage segments, the social media lounge and all that. That is the pre-show stuff, but you ain't going to see any more of that crap anywhere else on the show unless it's absolutely necessary. So after 15 minutes of setup, we're actually starting to talk about the card, kind of. Although we technically are on the pre-show here, and I have 3 matches that I would put on the pre-show. Although one of the maybe gets moved around, it kind of depends on something here. So the first thing I would do is actually something that I'm pretty sure that we're going to get, and not only get in the same capacity, but I think we're actually going to get it on the pre-show too. It's funny enough. The Raw Tag Team Championship match is going to be a triple threat between the Club, which they still go by the Club, Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows against Enzo Amore and Big Cass, and Cesaro and Sheamus. I'm pretty sure I'd have the Club go in as the tag champs and that they would retain the titles, because I don't want to have too many title changes on WrestleMania, and I have a couple others that I really want to force later on. Enzo and Cass can win it at Payback to follow that up. That way we get something interesting that happens at Payback instead of it just being all rematches that every champion retains and stuff like that. And I think that at this point, Cesaro and Sheamus break up as a couple. I think that by WrestleMania, they've gotten to a point where they no longer can stand each other anymore. And I actually, a couple months ago, I thought that they should have broken up ahead of time. Now that I have a little bit more hindsight, like I can put that into perspective, I can see why they would keep them together, at least as long as they've been together. So, you know what, I'm cool with them sticking around a little bit. I can play ball with WWE, what they're doing here. And I'll tell you what, WWE, I'm even going to give you the same Cruiserweight Championship match between Neville and Austin Aries, although I'm going to tweak it just a little bit. Now, I'm a big fan of the Cruiserweight division. I think that it doesn't get as much support as it should from our fans, and it really kind of boggles my mind, because when we have all these people complaining about how it's all promos and there's no matches, and 205 Live is mostly matches and not as many promos, and then everybody loved the Cruiserweight Classic, and everybody loves the matches that happen on Raw and on the pay-per-views, why don't you watch 205 Live? It's something that you can watch afterward. It's not like you have to watch it live. So, I don't know, it's one of those confusing things. It's like when people complain that there's nothing but blockbusters in movie theaters and stuff, and it's all superhero movies. Yeah, well, they make $1 billion. Maybe if you went to go see whatever the art house project was, then they would make more of those, and you wouldn't have to go to that dingy theater down the block or something, you know? But I like the Cruiserweight division. I would like to see more of them involved. However, throughout booking my card, I realized I had way too many multi-man matches, and I couldn't justify doing what I originally had planned, which was a Cruiserweight Open. I really, really like that idea. But you know what? Realistically, I can't do a triple threat for the tag titles and have a battle royal and have a couple other triple threat or multi-man scenarios happening without it seeming like it's a little bit too much of the same sort of thing. So I figured, you know what, I'll sacrifice it a little bit and just change it up a little bit by making it a lumberjack match. And this way you can have who calls himself the greatest man alive versus the king of the cruiserweights. And you know what? All the other cruiserweights are all hanging around. They're all pissed at both those guys. You're going to have a lot of flippy shit. It's going to be an interesting way to kick off the pre-show for the people that are watching that and not really maybe too much into WWE. Because, you know, there's people that watch the pre-show that are going there because their significant other watches it or something. They don't know what the hell is going on. And they just sat through 45 minutes or an hour or so of just talking. They're going to think that this is pretty damn boring. Same thing for people that watch football pre-shows and stuff. You get them some flippy shit, and it's like they're bouncing all over the place. They're going to go, wow, you know, I just saw that tag title match. That was all right. And now we're boosting up the energy a little bit. Cool. Neville walks into that with the championship. Austin Aries wins the title. So you already have a title change. So the first match, the tag champs retain the title. Second match, new champion. It's starting to make you go, oh man, maybe there are going to be some title changes tonight. Then our last match on the pre-show, unless it can be bumped to Hour 2, and I'll get to that when I talk about Hour 2, is the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. And the participants of this are everybody that I don't list somewhere else on the card. It's got some people from the Cruiserweight division. It's got the people like the Ascension, and it's got Apollo Crews and Callisto and Dolph Ziggler and a bunch of other people that more than likely are probably going to be in it this year. I mean, the Golden Truth isn't going to get a special match. They're going to be in that or in nothing. But the main guy to watch out for here is the winner, Braun Strowman. He's looking for competition, and he gets it because he says, you know what, there's nobody that's really that damn good against me. And I wouldn't have had this whole situation with Roman Reigns beating him at Fastlane because the two of them never would have fought each other. It would have been held off a little bit later on. Strowman would have had a little bit of a slower build and still had some good momentum going towards him. And it would have been like, I want fucking competition. I'll take on anybody on the roster. Hell, I've been beating 3 and 4 people at the same time. And McFoley would come out and he'd be like, all right, you know what? You think that you can take 3 and 4 people at a time, 5 people, 6 people? How about fucking everybody? How about that? And Braun Strowman gets a look on his face of like, oh yeah? Well, I'll fucking, yeah. All right, I'll do it. I'm not scared. Like that type of thing. And then he proves himself right, and he fucking beats everybody, because Braun Strowman is awesome, and he deserves to be that Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal winner. That's a good spot for him. It gives him a big WrestleMania moment, and then they can push him afterward, give him, say, I don't know, the world title, United States title, whatever. He can get to the point where he is actually able to justify being in that spot. But here, he steamrolls through everybody, and you get a couple decent people in the mix, like Kane, that can kind of give him a little bit of a run for his money. And one person that, if he's not wrestling later on, would be into this match is Big Show. And I think that having Big Show against Braun Strowman at the end there would be a really good final two. But we're going to get to that a little bit later on too, when I'm talking about that hour 2 situation, because it's all about Big Show. All the insanity with this stuff comes with Big Show here. So the first hour of the actual show, when we're done with the pre-show, is going to kick off with an Intercontinental Championship ladder match between Dean Ambrose, the champion, against Baron Corbin. We're kind of getting it this year, although they haven't said that it's a ladder match, but I think Ambrose does his best work when you put him in some kind of a no DQ situation. And I looked at the rest of the matches that I had on the card, and every match that I thought could be no DQ, none of them really seemed good enough or fitting for a ladder match. Ambrose, though, has a title, and we know a ladder match has to have something that you retrieve from the top, so a little spoiler alert for later on, I have a no DQ match between Undertaker and Roman Reigns. There's nothing between the two of them for them to grab in a ladder match, and they wouldn't want Undertaker wrestling in that capacity, so if you're going to give one of the championships a ladder match, it's got to be either the Cruiserweight or like the tag titles or something like that, or in this case, an Intercontinental title match. And I think that that's kind of cool. And it kind of, this is a stupid thing to justify, but we had 2 Intercontinental Championship ladder matches the past 2 years. Why not make it a hat trick? You know what I mean? But it starts off the night with a bang. We haven't had a ladder match yet, or any kind of no DQ in that sort of way, because I think that the triple threat for the tag titles should stay in the ring, kind of. And the Lumberjack match is something, a little bit of stuff on the outside, but it's mostly in the ring. And then the Battle Royal is everybody in the ring tossing each other out. There's no weapons. There's nothing like that. So Dean Ambrose goes in as the champion. I'm putting it down now that I would want Baron Corbin to win the title, but I wouldn't be opposed to him not winning it and then winning it at Backlash instead, which I like, by the way, the idea that they moved Backlash up, because I thought Payback and Backlash, both of those make sense as being the post-WrestleMania thing, so I'm cool with that too. So either way, I'm okay with Ambrose or Corbin winning this match. Doesn't really bug me, as long as the match is cool, as long as they're brawling and all that. And if you don't want it to be a ladder match and you need it to be something else, have it be a Falls Count Anywhere match. That's where I would go with that. So I'm going to pick a ladder match between the two of them, but, if somebody put a gun to my head and said, no ladder match, something else, Falls Count Anywhere. Our second match on hour 1 is for the Raw Women's Championship, and that is going to be Sasha Banks as the champion, defending against Bayley. And here's one of the reasons why I said I'm okay with Baron Corbin not winning the title, because Bayley wins the title here. This will be the first time that she won the title. There's no bullshit with her beating Charlotte on Raw, which, by the way, there's also no bullshit with Sasha Banks beating Charlotte 3 times on Raw just to drop it to Charlotte the next pay-per-view. I don't give a shit about Charlotte's pay-per-view streak. Fuck it. She loses the title to Sasha Banks whenever she lost it that first time. I don't remember when. And doesn't get it back. Tough shit. You don't get it back. You don't need to be a 4-time champion in the span of a year. Charlotte is good, but she's not that damn good that they need to make her the sole priority focal point of the Raw women's division. And in this meantime, Charlotte could have had a feud with Dana Brooke, because Dana Brooke has been doing jack shit since she returned. The Emma and Emelina thing is nothing that they've done. I never would have transferred her over to the Emelina character. I don't like the Emma character that she was doing before, so I wouldn't definitely take her back to that. I'd bring her back to babyface Emma, and it would be Emma and Bayley and Sasha against Charlotte and not Nia Jax, because if I had it my way, Nia Jax wouldn't have been called up. And Paige probably maybe would have still been in the mix. I don't know. Maybe some Alicia Fox. I don't know. But we'd kind of get a little bit of a change up with that sort of thing. Most importantly out of all of it is Sasha Banks beats Charlotte for the title and then slowly but surely starts transitioning into a heel character. And by the time we get to this WrestleMania, Bayley is the babyface going in to fight Sasha Banks, and you just let them do what they did at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn and NXT TakeOver Respect. Just let them go. And if you absolutely 100% need Charlotte in here, she could be the special guest referee, and that is it. You don't need it to be a triple threat match. You just don't. I got more than enough triple threat matches on the card. WWE is even booking enough triple threat matches already. So this is the first time Bayley wins the championship. Everybody rejoices. It's all, it's all good. And you got the roster balanced out a little bit. Charlotte and Sasha are heels. Emma and Bayley are baby faces. Maybe Nia Jax is a heel on there. Maybe she's just pushed aside. Maybe she's released. I don't know. You got like the Alicia Fox on whatever side she needs to be on. Maybe Dana Brooke is a tweener, whatever. That's stuff that, we can deal with the minutiae later on. Our last match, most likely on hour 1, is a triple threat between Bray Wyatt, Randy Orton, and Luke Harper. Orton takes down the Wyatt family from within. He turns babyface. Wyatt is firmly still the heel, and Luke Harper is a tweener. He's not too sure whether he trusts Randy Orton or Bray Wyatt or neither of them or both of them. I think that would be a good way of sort of playing into a different scenario than what we had with like the Legacy match, which that was DiBiase and Rhodes clearly against Randy Orton, and they really didn't have that much of an animosity between the two of them. Well, Luke Harper here is kind of going, I'm, devoted to this Bray Wyatt guy, but this Randy Orton dude, he's saying some good stuff, yet at the same time, he's kind of a dick. So you don't know how to really work that into there. And yes, this is not for the championship. Randy Orton would not have won the Royal Rumble. Bray Wyatt would not have won the Elimination Chamber because, first off, the Elimination Chamber would not have been for the championship. It would have been for a number 1 contender spot. We'll get to that a little bit later on too. But a triple threat between these three makes sense to me as a mid-card type of a match. Still have the same basic feud, just take the title out of the mix. And you put Luke Harper in there because he deserves a good enough spot. And as far as the winner of the match here, let's go with Randy Orton. Why not? Right? So now we're on hour 2, and this is where things get a little bit crazy because it's a time constraint issue, and it's also a match that might happen, might not, and then there's alternative matches and a bunch of different things like that. So keep in mind that this is going to seem like a lot for hour 2, but some stuff is going to be crunched down. Some stuff isn't necessarily going to be just purely in hour 2. Maybe it's going to be a little bit in hour 1, a little bit in hour 3, that kind of a thing. Starting off with Big Show versus Shaquille O'Neal. We don't know if this is going to happen this year. And it's, I'm recording this the 9th of March. You would think by now we would have something set in stone. Either it is or it isn't. So in one scenario, it happens and it's very quick because Shaq and Big Show, they can't have a 15-minute match. It's just not going to work. So you make that a 5-minute thing and you really don't need to factor that too much into the card. If Big Show and Shaq doesn't happen, Big Show gets pushed into the Battle Royal, and in that scenario, that match doesn't exist, and you don't need to worry about that time on the card. If you need another match, I would have put American Alpha versus the Usos. I think that that's going to get bumped from WrestleMania this year, and it got bumped from my card too. So those guys can go into the Battle Royal too, whatever you need to do in that capacity. Then we got a match that is, it might happen this year, it might not, I don't know. It's Sami Zayn versus Samoa Joe, and this is for the United States Championship. I would have had Sami Zayn beat Chris Jericho to become the United States Champion, and Samoa Joe is going to be taking the title from him here. You can have some title changes throughout the night, and this is a scenario where I think Samoa Joe as United States Champion would make more sense. Now, I got to admit, I don't really love it. I would have wanted to have Samoa Joe against John Cena, but I couldn't really figure out a way to balance things out like that. And when you start looking at the overall card, just because I would like to see Joe against Cena doesn't mean that I need to sacrifice all the other matches of the card to be able to do that. And I started thinking more about it more and more. Maybe Samoa Joe versus John Cena is better as a feud that can happen when he gets sent over to SmackDown later in the year. And John Cena and him can fight for the championship and do a bunch of other things like that. Samoa Joe here, if he wins the United States title on Raw, we'll work that into the mix here. In any capacity, maybe even Sami Zayn wins this match or something like that. But I think Zayn versus Joe is a good enough match that you can kind of throw on the card here, and it's not killing other things, but I really have to admit, this is my weakest thing that I really don't love it. I mean, the tag title situation, the fact that we don't have 2 tag titles on the line, that bugs me. And the situation with having the triple threat for the Raw tag team titles, I wish I could change that up a little bit too. And the Samoa Joe thing, those are the things if I had another couple of weeks for me to figure this out, I'd probably figure something else out. But I got too much other shit I got to do and stuff. So this is the benefit of having multiple writers on the show where they can kind of pitch their own ideas too. And this is me doing this myself. But yeah, it's good enough. Why not? I don't think anybody's going to really complain about Samoa Joe versus Sami Zayn, right? Now here's a change for you. Shane McMahon accompanied by Daniel Bryan against The Miz accompanied by Maurice. I'm digging the John Cena feud a little bit more than I thought I would at this point with Nikki Bella, Maurice, and The Miz. But I think the better story to go with is Shane fighting The Miz on behalf of Daniel Bryan, because the Daniel Bryan and Miz stuff never got any kind of closure. Now, Maurice on the outside, she's not really that much of a factor. Daniel Bryan can do something that can help Shane McMahon beat The Miz, and this can be a short match. Again, with hour 2. Some short things here, because you already have 2 hours of a pre-show and an hour of the main show. People are going to start to get a little bit restless. So if you start pumping out, this is a short thing, that's a short thing, that's a short thing, it's going to feel like the pace is quickening up a little bit, and they're not going to get tired. I like the idea that the second hour is sort of, we hit you with a couple good things here and there. You get a little bit of a commercial break. If you're not a big fan of Shane McMahon versus The Miz, you got 10 minutes that you can go do something else, that kind of stuff. And The Miz works well as a guy who can kind of promote a feud more through a feud than he can with like the in-ring action and stuff, with the promos and all that. So he and Shane work well like that together, I think. Shane is not a guy who can wrestle a long match or a technical kind of style, but he can fight The Miz. And I kind of like that booking. Something that I forgot to mention earlier during the pre-show part was that since the New Day are the hosts, they're going to do something towards the end of the pre-show that leads into the first hour. And this is going to be a recurring theme that carries throughout the night. Something with the ice cream, something with backstage cameos of legends and stuff. All the little different things that you can do with the backstage things, like Ron Simmons with the whole damn, all that stuff. It's all going to factor into the New Day, because the New Day are funny, at least in my mind, and they can kind of keep things going, act as like a little bit of a bathroom break, sort of, if you're not really into those things. But we're going to have a mid-show promo that carries on from earlier in the night. It's going to continue to tell the story of whatever antics that they're getting involved in. And it's just going to be a lighthearted, 2 minutes or so, something like that, just to kind of keep you reminded that this is going to be something that's going to pay off later on. I don't know exactly what. That's up to them. They're the people that are funny. I'm not going to try to book a scenario in that case, but, whatever. Now that we've hit that mid-show point, Triple H versus Seth Rollins. If he's not able to compete, which he probably should, because that whole thing with Samoa Joe wouldn't have happened in my scenario, so he wouldn't have gotten injured. I mean, I really don't need to explain this all that much, do I? They've been building up to this for a hell of a long time. Triple H and Seth Rollins have been wanting to have a match together. They get their match together. Triple H loses because he's got to put over the younger guy. Seth Rollins goes in as the babyface, of course, and I don't know, maybe he debuts the new finisher because the pedigree is not really all that great. So I think that this is a real short little segment here, but this is basically what they're doing right now, except for without the injury and without the whole speculation of whether it's going to be a match or a brawl or whatever. This would just be a match, and it doesn't need to be no DQ. There doesn't need to be overbooking. Just let the two go out there and fight. And our last match for hour 2, if it's able to get squeezed in there, which I'm pretty sure it probably would. I don't know. I mean, the Triple H Rollins match might go on for that 20-something minutes. The other ones are kind of quick, but maybe with a little bit of overlapping or the, deletion of the one match or something. I don't know. But it would be very similar to what we're getting right now, actually. I'm kind of surprised that they went ahead and did this kind of a route, but they announced on SmackDown that it's going to be Alexa Bliss versus every available woman on the roster, and I would go a little bit different. I'm going to call this the SmackDown Women's Championship 6-Pack Challenge match. We all know about the SmackDown 6, right? Well, if you don't, that was in a time frame where SmackDown had 6 people that were considered like the mainstays of the SmackDown brand that were kind of championing the whole thing and keeping it going. And I think that the same thing is applicable to the women on SmackDown right now. So Alexa Bliss goes in as the champion. She retains the title. And she is going to be fighting Becky Lynch, Nikki Bella, because there's no John Cena match like that, Natalya, Mickie James, and Naomi, because Naomi wouldn't have wrestled that match with Alexa to be injured. And I'm going to play that card. So Alexa retains the title because I really like Alexa as champion. She would be dropping it at Backlash, though, and probably to Mickie James. I think that that's around the time that you turn Mickie James babyface and you kind of keep her going like that and stuff. But maybe you don't even need to turn her babyface. I don't know. That's something to deal with for Fantasy Booking Backlash at that point. I like the idea, though, of all these women getting in the match together. They are all super talented. Noticeably absent from that is Carmella, but you know what? I think in the grand scheme of things, you can kind of keep her out of the mix and nobody really could complain. I like Carmella, but she is not part of that SmackDown 6. That brings us to hour 3, and this is why I meant that hour 2 might bleed over a little bit here, because we don't have too much booked for hour 3, and all that much for hour 4, so it sort of just depends on how much time you want to put into some of these different things. But I would start things off. I think at this point we probably need a little bit of a bathroom break, so let's do the Hall of Fame recap. It pushes another thing later on into the night too, so it could be a little bit darker. You'll see in a minute. But the Hall of Fame recap is something that I think is important to do at WrestleMania. It's just a nice way to have those guys come out there, or men and women, I should say, go out there. They can just pose to the crowd, and they can have their little moment in the spotlight, kind of. It's a nice, non-threatening segment on the show. It's not a disappointment if you're watching and you're going, oh man, they're taking a bunch of time out for this. It's 5 minutes long. It's fine. It gives you a little bit of a recap of what happened the 2 nights before. And, it pays tributes to the people that have kind of built the legacy that WrestleMania is on. But we need to make sure that it's dark enough for this, because we've got a casket match between The Undertaker and Roman Reigns. Yeah, this is a no DQ match because Undertaker works better in that way, and it kind of masks his injuries a little bit because we know that he's pretty beaten up. So that also means this is going to be kept on the shorter side. This isn't going to be some 35-minute brawl. He's got a bunch of things that are bugging him, apparently. And you know what? I love The Undertaker. I want to see him stick around as long as he possibly can. If that means that I got to sacrifice a longer match, I'll sacrifice a longer match. I'd rather see a short 10-minute, 15-minute Undertaker-Roman Reigns match than to see 30 minutes and then he never wrestles again. You know what I mean? So I think that a casket match works well with this too, because it's kind of easier to sort of wrestle that style, because you don't have to have kickouts and pinfalls and submissions and jumping off the top rope and weapons involved in a different capacity. I mean, you can bring him into the mix and you can have like Undertaker takes out Roman Reigns and he can kind of catch his breath a little bit, that type of stuff. Roman Reigns here, though, the story, if you want to go behind this, you've got the whole, it's, my yard now, that kind of a thing. Maybe the feud starts with Reigns eliminating Taker from the Royal Rumble and he gloats. Maybe he hates that the fans boo him, but they cheer this evil dead man or something like that. And I'll even one-up you a little bit. Undertaker beats Roman Reigns because, fuck it, I don't want Roman Reigns to win this. He's the heel in this scenario, for sure. And I think he should be a full-on heel. He loses the match, and typical Roman Reigns style, you can't keep him down. Undertaker closes that casket, bell rings, Superman punch, he breaks through the casket. And he's like, fuck you, I didn't really lose that match. That's bullshit. You never would have been able to pin me. Keeps Roman Reigns looking strong. He looks like a jerk. Undertaker still wins the match, though. And he wins it in a way that maybe he's not going to be all beaten up for the whole rest of the year and stuff like that. So I'm kind of working that into the mix here, too. It's pretty short. It can do what it's meant to do. And you don't have to worry about a lot of different things that I think are going to be a little bit problematic. So that would be a good way to kind of, I don't want to say kill two birds with one stone here, but that would be a good way to kind of incorporate a lot of different elements. So I'm cool with this. I think that that's kind of interesting. We haven't seen a casket match in a long time too either, so that'd be kind of cool to see too. The other thing that I have written down for hour 3, again, we went like 7 things in hour 2 and 3 things in hour 3. That's where you get a little bit more time that you can be flexible about how long you're going with the other matches and stuff. But this one is going to have a while, and that is the Universal Championship match, which if I had the ability to change it, that title would be a black strap with a red background and not the other stuff, but we're getting into some other things here. But it's going to be Kevin Owens going in as the champion against Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho wins the Royal Rumble. He is a guy who I think deserves to have a Royal Rumble win, and he wins it when he and Owens are still friends. And it starts kind of unraveling everything from that point because he's like, well, when we fight each other, it's okay. We'll still be the Universal Champion. The same thing that he was kind of doing before. And Owens starts getting paranoid about it because he realizes that Jericho isn't the patsy that he wants him to be. He's somebody who can actually beat him. So when we start getting a little bit closer to WrestleMania, maybe Kevin Owens has a match at Fastlane against somebody, and it's sort of like, well, maybe Jericho puts his Royal Rumble spot on the line at Fastlane, something like that. I don't know. And you never know exactly if it's going to be Jericho Owens, but I mean, it's going to be Jericho Owens because that's the money feud. And once it's solidified, Owens is like, all right, fuck you. If I got to wrestle you, I'm going to try to beat you down. We're not friends anymore, that kind of a thing. And then Jericho's just like, all right, you want to turn on me? Then we're going to really go at it. I am going to take that title and stuff. Owens retains, though, because Owens is going to stick around. You've been hearing me complain about the Goldberg situation with Brock Lesnar and how the Universal title is going to be held hostage. Owens is going to stick around. He is going to be the guy that holds that Universal Championship, not Chris Jericho. Jericho gets that Royal Rumble win. He gets that main event spot, even though it's not the main event. Owens retains night after WrestleMania. If Jericho is still sticking around, maybe they have another match at Payback. If not, you bring back Finn Balor. Then you get your Finn Balor, Kevin Owens feud. Finn Balor drops the title, or Kevin Owens drops the title to Finn Balor, and you start all the way back over again to what you started originally wanting to do with Finn Balor as the champion. We're on to hour 4 here, which is going to be Brock Lesnar versus Goldberg. It's not the main event because it's not going to last that long. I don't like having these Goldberg and Brock Lesnar main events that last 4 minutes. It's not something that's worth waiting all the way through for the whole pay-per-view. And I don't give a shit if they say that fans are used to the UFC thing. I'm not, and I don't like the UFC model. Why would I want to waste 2, 3, 4 hours, in this case 6 hours, building up to, but the best match of the night, the one that everybody wants to see the most, that's going to happen at the very end here, and it's going to be a spear and a jackhammer in the end, or an F5 and a pinfall. No. This is a shorter thing. So again, a little bit of spillover from hour 3 of whatever it got spilled over into from hour 2 and all that kind of stuff. Lesnar wins. Goldberg has his send-off in the ring. If this is his retirement, if it isn't his retirement, then I wouldn't be opposed to Goldberg winning it again. Maybe, if Lesnar is that guy that Undertaker couldn't beat, maybe Goldberg is the guy that Lesnar can't beat. But I think the better scenario is that Lesnar wins here and Goldberg kind of just says his goodbyes and stuff like that. And we, get him into the Hall of Fame next year or something like that. We have our final New Day promo that wraps up everything, gives us a conclusion to their antics throughout the night. They round out the night by thanking everybody for watching WrestleMania. This is another bathroom break, essentially. And whether it's, ice cream falls from the ceiling or they actually create a unicorn out of nowhere or something, I don't know. But we get the New Day, their final send-off, and that's sort of our our transition into, we know that we're at the end here. We're, about 10:30 at this point, maybe like 10:45. The pay-per-view can end at 11, but we're going to have a little bit of an overrun, so it can end at 11:30 or so. We've got one more match that we got to take care of. So if you guys have been joining us this whole time, thanks for watching, that kind of a thing. And our main event, John Cena, the Elimination Chamber winner, to get the title shot against AJ Styles for the WWE World Championship. End the show with what is probably going to be the best match of the night for the best title in the company, and with the most historic thing to do, because this is where John Cena wins that 16th world title. You could have Ric Flair ringside if you want to do that. Maybe you can try to, you can't really say that like AJ Styles had been a mentor with that whole thing with Ric Flair, but you don't really need Ric Flair ringside for that anyway. It all really boils down to Styles and Cena have had great matches with each other. It's a guarantee, and that it's going to be good. And Styles deserves that main event spot. He deserves to go in as the champion. If he's not going to go in fighting for the championship and winning it, he should be going in with the title. He proved himself over the past year. John Cena, I think, is a guy that, even though people would be like, oh, John Cena's in the main event again, yeah, he deserves it too. He deserves to win that 16th world title on WrestleMania, not at the Royal Rumble where he drops it 2 weeks later. So I like the idea that this is the last thing of the night. It's going to upset some people that AJ Styles loses, but you know what? I think that the way that the buzz worked with the Royal Rumble didn't seem like many people were all that upset that John Cena won. So John Cena wins that 16th world title here. It ends the night. Fireworks all over the place. We can start getting into Backlash and Payback and stuff afterward, where we have some different feuds that we can do, because this is essentially the end of a season. And I think that, the Slammy Awards follow it and a bunch of other things like that. But Styles and Cena, this is their last match together for a while. Cena can move on to a feud with Samoa Joe. He can feud with Bray Wyatt again, if maybe they want to do something like that. Maybe he starts feuding with, I don't know. Maybe Roman Reigns goes over to SmackDown instead, and he has, the heel Roman Reigns against John Cena or something like that. All that stuff's for shit to worry about a little bit later on, but I think that this would be a great end of WrestleMania, especially compared to what we're probably going to get now, which is Brock Lesnar beating Goldberg in a quick amount of time. No interest in that whatsoever. Nothing to cheer about, nothing to be happy about. At least with the John Cena AJ Styles, we know we're going to get a damn good match. Whew. And there you have it, everybody. That's a fucking hour of me talking about this kind of stuff. But that is my card for WrestleMania 33. If I would have been given some modicum of creative control over the past year of booking, some things would be different if you would have talked to me a couple of weeks ago. Some things are going to be different if you talk to me a week from now. But a couple of these things were things that I had written out last year. I wanted Roman Reigns against The Undertaker, and I wanted the whole Hall of Fame recap going towards the end of the night, and I liked the idea of Triple H and Rollins. I liked the idea of Samoa Joe being on the card. a lot of other things like that. I mean, I had no idea that they were going to do Bray Wyatt in a thing with Randy Orton, so I didn't factor that in last year. Although I did have Braun Strowman as my my Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal winner months and months ago. So, I mean, a lot of this stuff is kind of carrying over in the same capacity, and I kind of like that. Maybe some of those things don't change all that much. And some of the stuff is actually what we're going to be getting this year, so that's going to be kind of cool, at least in my mind. But I want to know what you guys have to think about this. Do you like the card? Do you not like it? Is it better or worse than what we're probably going to be getting? And what would you do if you had creative control and you could rebook WrestleMania the way that you want to? So leave those comments below if you're on the YouTube channel. If you are on the page on the website, drop your comments below on there for like the iTunes and Stitcher feed. And anything else that you guys want to throw out there too, just drop those comments there. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and leave a like on this video if you're on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter at SmarkOutMoment, and stay tuned for the next thing that's going to be happening this week, which is our 2017 class of the Smark Out Moment Hall of Fame. So I want to thank you all for listening. That's going to do me in for now. I'm going to spend a hell of a long time editing this video, but it's going to be worth it, you know. And I will see you next time, everybody. This has been another Smark Out Moment, and I am being counted out.